Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. It is I, Linda Ray, and I am back, guys. We are back with a brand new series, and this one follows love. It is a Valentine's Day edition, but this will not be coming out on Valentine's Day. Now, without a further ado, I will introduce the first guest for this three-part series, a wonderful friend of mine, someone who I've had the pleasure of working with recently. Could we all say hi to Lucy Rafton?
Oh, hi there. Hello.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
How are you doing, Lucy?
I'm great, thanks.
Good. Do you want to introduce yourself to our lovely audience members?
Yes. So I am Lucy Rafton. I mean, I feel like most people might know me as Rafton. Mm-hmm. We've had this conversation before. Mm-hmm. I am 35 and I am a performer, actress, singer, movie, I'd say movie person. Like, you know, I do movement directing, I do all sorts of things. And I also work for a company called Definition, doing lots of fun admin stuff.
Oh, well, I think you also forgot one thing in there.
Go on.
Stand-up comedy?
Oh, yeah. So I also now do stand-up comedy.
Which I think, by the way, has come at a perfect time because speed dating is the event that you're going to be taking part in. It's speed dating actually event coming up.
Yeah.
And we did have a conversation saying this will be quite a good way to get some material.
Yeah. So I got into stand-up comedy based on a recent relationship situation,
my goodness, no.
and my entire set is about my dating life. So yeah.
It's needed. It's honestly needed because I don't think people I've been very lucky to be one of those people that are kind of always in relationships. So my single life stories are not really like tragic or interesting enough for me to have like a lot of stories from. But I think I could probably I'm like one of those girls you call when you have been in a relationship and you're like, girl, how did you deal with this in your relationship? I'm not the girl you call when you're like, this nigga ain't text me back. And I'm just trying to flirt because I don't even know how to flirt. I've been lucky to get all my guys from just them doing the work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I can't even imagine dating. But let's get into it.
Yes, let's
get into it. So let's start by talking about your first date or memory of a date that you actually realized, oh my goodness, this is a date, and I know this is a date, they know it's a date, let's go for it.
The first one that comes to mind is when I was at I want to say I was maybe at high school, or it might have been college. It all blurs into one. You get past 30 and that's it. No, can't remember for shizer. But yeah, so this guy, I knew him through a friend. It was her brother, and we didn't go to the same school or anything together, but we obviously we had some kind of vibe going on, and it was just really random. We just went for a walk.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
How long was this walk?
I can't remember, but I feel like for both of us that maybe it was too long. I'm not sure, but it just felt really weird, and I remember just being like, when you've not spent time with somebody, or you've not got to know somebody really well, and then you spend time with them in person and go, you're a really great person, but you're not for me. And I would always find the smallest thing to be like, well, they do that, I can't. This is not it.
Being give me an example of the smallest thing.
So this feels really bad. I hope he's not listening and he can't work it out that it's him. Being a dancer, coordination and things, like my body is really important, and other people's bodies, languages. He walked the same arm and leg. Do you know what I mean, right?
Oh, no.
And so walking together, and so then when we started holding hands, I was like, this feels really weird. And I mean,
I don't blame you because you know what, the smallest things,
Yeah.
like for example, for me, I'm very hypersensitive, so I can hear everything very well.
Yes.
And I can like see very well, and my memory is great. So like a lot of things, like someone forgetting something I would have told them, for example, would be like a sign for me to never, like this would not work out.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like I'm like, this is the end.
Yeah, it's almost like self-sabotaging there. And it took me a while to learn that I was just going, oh, well, that's the thing. So we can't continue this.
Can we talk about when you got to that point then, when you realized what that was? Like when you were like, you know what, I might be self-sabotaging myself here.
I can't really remember when I first realised that. But it was quite early on.
Yeah.
Like,
Just after multiple dates, do you think?
yeah,
Or-
just like people that I'd be interested in. And I'd look for, things that it's like, well, no, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
And I'd focus on it. And I think a lot of it might have been to do with the fact that I did a lot of creative stuff in my own time and since I was younger, and being in a relationship or anything like that felt like a distraction. And it wasn't that anyone on the outside world was giving me that, but me internally was like, well, I need to find something wrong with them.
Yeah.
And even though it's not necessarily anything wrong with them, but I need to pick something that's a reason to not continue this so that I can then focus on.
Yeah, you know what? That's
stuff.
so interesting because I think when I was dating, I was the opposite. I was that girl that does a bit too much in terms of like ignores everything that's possibly wrong with the person.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a giver. I'm such I want to fix everything. I mean,
Yes.
you know me. I'm all about let's heal this world as quick as we can.
Yeah.
And sometimes like even today with the things that I do, like a no or a bad sign, like takes a while for me to get that's not meant to be a good thing. That's not meant to happen. So I was one of those girls who I think got very comfortable in being with people who had like really bad attitude or something, because I'll cover up with like, oh my goodness, I've seen how they speak to you at home, so I know that must have affected your mental health. So I'll just take it, because maybe one day if I give you that much love, you'll realize that you don't have to be this way. Do you know what I mean? So like in a stereotypical way, it's like those people who think that they can change people, but I didn't realize that I was those people until I was like, damn, until I got into all the things I'm doing today. And I was like,
it all out.
I was like, damn, I saved like Luke, me ending up finding him saved me probably loads of relationships where I would have probably continued going into that cycle, because like being lucky enough to find a good guy like Luke really pushed me to focus on my mental health. So I was not one of those people who was set mentally. Like I was not in a good place when I got into my relationship. Like now I am. So I was very, very lucky, because a lot of people, when they get into relationships, are not lucky enough to find a partner who will help them focus on their mental health and all their like bad traits or anything like that. And I happen to do that, but I know for a fact at the state that I was at when I was dating, I would have probably accepted any red flag. My friends would have been like, girl,
mate, Liz, what are you doing?
That would have been like, no, it's fine. You don't know what I know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I know what he's really going through. Do you know what I mean? Gosh, so how was it for you then? Because that was college, right? So how was it coming out of college? Did you think that the pressure from dating and from people got worse? Did you find any pressure in college?
I think like my dating vibe in college got a bit more intense. So I know I had my first like serious relationship in college, and it wasn't necessarily with somebody that I was that interested in. Again, it was just kind of like, oh, that seems like the right kind of guy. And I remember just being like, just feeling like I wasn't excited about going to see him. And that feels really, it sounds really bad, but more because I was like, it felt like it was a thing that I should be doing. And then I did meet someone not long after that it was like the first time that I was really invested in someone. And I think we spent maybe a couple of years together. And that took me into like uni. So that like blended those two worlds. And then I think the pressure wasn't there as much, but I remember feeling like that was all that anyone really focused on at college.
Wow.
Like,
It was.
My friends, and they were either already in relationships with people that they met in school, or the new people that I met in college, because you meet new people that aren't from your school. You were interested in the same people, and like the first guy that I kind of really dated, the one that I was talking about, his best friend was going out with a girl that I was really close with. So one of my really close girlfriends. And they're still together to this day. I'm pretty sure they're married and they've got kids. I don't speak to her anymore. But that's really interesting that they were too, and you kind of look at it from the outside going, that's why that world happened, because you were just kind of focused on
I pushed my chair down. It just started
descending.
My apologies.
That's fine. I enjoyed that. But yeah, that was kind of like really strange to look at, but at the time didn't feel like it was strange because it was just like, oh, I never thought I'd be not one of those people, but that's like, my friend's going out with his friend, so we're gonna.
But you don't realize it until you grow up, you know. You don't realize. Me and my friend in college had that realization because when I started dating Luke, he was the first guy I started dating ever since I'd become really best friends and made this like new group in England and came back here. And she had this conversation with me. She sat me down and we went from spending every single day to each other to not spending a lot of time together because I was obviously now spending all this time with this new guy. And she was in a long distance relationship because when we both first met at the beginning of college, I was in a relationship with someone in South Africa. And then that didn't work out because I just couldn't do the whole long distance thing. And then that was probably, I was with them for like almost 2 years as well. And then it literally happened so fast with Luke. I think it was like 4 to 6 months after that.
Yeah.
And so for her, she was used to having me all the time. And she had to sit me down and be like, you know what, bro, I've actually gotten into a mental like state, like it's actually affected my mental health, how much I'm missing you, or how much I felt like I didn't realize how much I was so dependent on you. And we literally had to have a conversation about boundaries and also a conversation about like how we continue our friendship as well and split up our time and all these different things. Do you know what I mean? And as young girls, because like it's so important to have female friends, I think, in your life. It's so important because some of the things we go through as females, like it's just, you can't, like we don't even have to speak words, we just know. Do you know what I mean? From looks. And so like it was one of those things where I didn't realize how much I needed like to be in the same position as my friend as well. Like how you're saying, because your friend was in a really good relationship, it's that thing of like, oh damn, now I have to find a man, and then we'll be complete again because we were both walking around with our man by our sides. You know what I mean? And then it's always that weird thing I remember in high school of when you broke up with your man, but I was still with like my man who's friends with your ex now. It's always like so awkward. But then when you look back, you realize you didn't even like those people. Like, it was clearly just about having a boyfriend. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know where those pressures came from. I don't, like, I can't sit here and tell you for a fact.
That's like somebody gave it to you or said it to you.
Gave me that idea.
I think it's just kind of like, it's a programmed response. It's something that we like learned behavior, and we just adapt,
especially for
human
females.
Beings.
Especially for females,
and I think as creative people, we're so used to adapting. It's like one of the first things you learn to do, isn't it? And so you adapt to your surroundings, your crowd. And so even though you don't think you're like, I would say I'm not a heavily influenced person, I will still watch Friends and be like, I'm Rachel. So are we going to go to I want to go to this place, and then everyone else goes, no, let's go there. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'm like, but I am such a strong, like, stubborn person. But in certain situations, I won't even realise that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Oh my goodness.
Do you think it's, like you say, as females, it's just something that
I know
is
one
in
thing.
Our makeup.
Yeah, like being in a relationship, I know one of the natural pressures around love, and that I struggle with. Like I know we've like kind of touched on it when we're working together, but the changes that happen to you, never mind just physically, but I've grown into, especially because I'm in a comfortable relationship, and a relationship that's going towards marriage. Like me and Luke are practically married, and we're preparing now to like hopefully get out there with our family and do the whole thing properly. And so when I get into that mindset, I put so much pressure on myself for being a wife. Like that idea terrifies me. Like not being a wife in terms of like me and Luke to each other, husband and wife, and there's no pressure within this house. But I feel like the minute we get married on a public platform, and then when everyone knows that I'm his wife, there's gonna come so much responsibility that people are gonna expect from me, when I'm like, well, he can think for himself for that thing, but I already know that society has said all these things that I have to do, all these things that I would have had to be covering, and I'm so scared. Do you get what I mean? Like, I feel this pressure and so scared to be a wife. I can't even look forward to it. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, I'm already tired of feeling like a female. Right? Never mind now feeling the pressure of having to be a specific type of female. So how would you say for yourself, because as for me, as I'm now turning 25 this year, and I look at you like literally a bigger sister of mine, I literally look look up to you so much. Since the moment I've met you, we've always really connected. But how have you stayed so positive? Because every time I see you, with all the pressures that we have as females, with social media, I mean, Luke's mom's already on me about grandkids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm nowhere like close to that. So like, how have you handled like dating? And I know right now you're single, and like, how is it going for you right now? Like, how is it as as a young woman in her mid-30s and like just finding love?
Yeah, it's I think it's quite interesting. You're saying about the pressures of grandkids already.
Yeah.
I set my stall out quite early on in life, not purposefully, but with family. So I've got quite a big family, and nobody really asks me anymore if there's somebody. And it can like, it's quite a nice thing.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that for some people that might be the other way, like, be like, nobody's saying, have you got someone? Like, I know that they wouldn't ask me because I'd be telling them, they'd know about it if it was the time to say it. And purely because as well, I think there's that whole world around that if you're not in a relationship, you're not with someone, that whatever you're doing, whatever you are, isn't enough. And it is. And there's so much more about you than the person that you're with or the love venture. There's so many more like romantic journeys that we go on. But I've got a massive romantic journey with my creative career. It's like, it's been the one thing that I've known since I was tiny, and that's like, I would say that that's my big love. And if there's anyone that comes along, that has come along in the time at the side of that, it's been like an extra. It's almost like I've been having my cake and eat it, which I know
is how I feel right now in my situation, because I get to live out my dream.
And it's
art.
It's nice to have it, and it's great, and it is like you say, you're lucky, and it's a luxury, but. Yeah, it's quite interesting that I don't ever feel those pressures anymore. Like, I know it's there, and I know that there is a collective pressure for people my age that for whatever reason, but I don't feel it, and I think it's because probably a lot of the relationships that I've been in have made me realise that it's actually better to be alone than feel lonely with somebody, with company. And I felt that loads of times. And, not because I've just thought that the world would feel better for me being in that relationship, but because I've endured it, thinking, no, I can do this. We can work through it. And relationships and life is about compromise, and it is. But I think you have to be on the same page for that. And it doesn't always work that way. The other person might not be able to compromise or might not want to, and it's not that they're a bad person or it's their fault, even though at the time it feels like it is, and you hate them with every part of your being. You're like, why is it now? I want it to work now.
Like, come on.
But it's like, that's just the way it is. And I've got here at this point in my life because I think a lot of it is, like I said, because I've had a bigger other love in my life. And had I not had that, would I still be single? I don't know. But I think it is a big part of who I am, like, as an individual. I really, really enjoy doing stuff on my own. I really love being independent, but I also love sharing stuff, like, with my friends and my family. So I know that when I find that person, if I find that person, they'll be the person I'm like, I just need to ring them to tell them this. I just need to, and I want that. I'd rather it be that than a
comfort thing.
Yes.
A comfort thing. I think just because you have somebody.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Or I think because it works out easier or whatever.
Yeah, it's easy, and there's nothing wrong with easy.
No.
But it's never been something that I've done, and I know that's a lot of choices that I have made in romantic relationships. It's the self-saboteur again. I've full on gone in knowing full well that there are red flags. I have been slapped in the face with red flags galore, but the difference here is that I have not ignored them. I've been highlighting them, but also going, but I'm coming in. It's almost like I'm going into the zoo.
Yeah.
I've opened the cage with the tigers in, full on like covered in meat, and been like, well, I'm just going to test it out.
I'm just going to walk through and hope for the
shouting
best.
to everyone at the back who's going, can you not go in there? Yeah, I'm going in. Just so you know, if I'm dead, that's why.
Wow.
And that's kind of like, that's my vibe, and it's not always been a great thing. It's not worked out well for me in some senses. But yeah, I think easy for me. It just
it's not for you.
No, it's not, and I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that. Be a time where I thought it would be hard to say that, because then you think, oh well, then people who want easy, or people they'll be like, oh well, it's not for me. But then great.
Yeah,
don't keep
that.
going,
yeah,
keep going,
pushing
right?
into that, lean into that.
If I'm not, if the easy is for you, but it's not for me, and you're the most beautiful person I've ever met in my life, and I feel like I want to marry you, but walk on by,
keep going.
Yeah.
Walk on by. do. That's a lovely note, I think, to leave this episode on, because I think what you made me realize is something that I think I never knew I was, and it's exactly that. Yes. Every time I ask myself, and when people ask me like how me and Luke do it, for example, I think it's just because we both have such good understandings of who we are as separate human beings.
Definitely.
Like, I think now really deeply thinking about what love is and what that looks like, and what that looks like for me right now is being able to literally do what I love, but have someone I can call and be like I literally call him for the most silliest. I send him reels from like Real Housewives. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's what my emergency is in a day. I call him at work and make him leave what he's doing to tell him about what this housewife just did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's actually what matters to me. Do you know what I mean?
That's good.
But what I love is everything that I'm doing, is talking to you guys out there, is creating work, is talking to you here and learning more and experiencing life. This is what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? This is what I love. And I think that's what a lot of people should focus on.
Yeah. What makes you you.
Focus on what makes you, and leaning into that, I think, is what we really spoke about. Leaning into that and being comfortable with that, and not letting anyone else make you think that like what you like or what you prefer is wrong. Yeah. That's something that I learned in therapy, is that like what you want isn't wrong just because someone else prefers it differently, or what you want, even though it's different to someone else's, it's okay. Yeah. It's literally okay. It's okay to be with someone, and it's okay not to be with someone. Do you know what I mean? It's just about enjoying what you love, and it doesn't have to be a person. No. I hope that made sense, guys. Yeah. If it didn't, feel free to hit us up and we'll do our best to clarify
episode
that.
2. Or episode 2.0.
But other than that, Lucy, you have been so great to speak to.
Thanks for having me, as ever.
Honestly, we had the best time. We always have the best time. Mm-hmm. But if you guys want to meet Lucy, if anyone wants to meet Lucy, and have a chat, it doesn't even have to be about dating. No. We're going to be at the speed dating event, which is not just for people to come and date, but it's also to raise money for this podcast so that I can get you a better mic than the one you're currently using.
I love this mic. This is great.
I love it, but let's all be real, listeners. It does not sound as good as this one that I'm using.
Probably not, no.
So it's a charity fundraiser, not just for our poddy, but also for Behind Closed Doors, which is a Leeds-based charity that focuses on domestic violence for everyone. And I really wanted to choose this charity because I don't think a lot of people realize that pressures around Valentine's Day don't just fall for single people. It also falls for a lot of people who are in domestic situations, the pressure for them to do things at home, and if they don't do it, the consequences and all things kind of revolving around that. So I wanted people to also remember that even though we have cute holidays and fun holidays, holidays are not always holidays, if that makes sense for people. They're not always great things, basically, and sometimes they put a lot of pressure on different parts of society and different parts of life. And just to remember that when we're out there, and I'm hoping that the speed dating event will be a chance for people to remember a bit of that. Yeah. A bit of both. So thank you all so much for listening. Stay tuned, because we will be back definitely for part 2. You won't hear from me for a while, but I'll be back. And when I am back, we're going to pick up the My Fresh Start series, and we're going to get some more graduates and some more freelancers to talk about their mental health journey ever since leaving and starting a new chapter. But other than that, I have been Linda Ray. Thank you, Lucy, again. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.